Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I'm joined today by Allyson and Gale, Vice President of the ELFA. Thanks for joining me, Allie.
Thanks, Jesse. I'm excited. I finally got invited to one of these things.
It's my fault. Should have, as soon as I met you, I should have had you on here to introduce yourself to the equipment finance community that follows this podcast. But it's okay. It's okay. We're doing it now, and we can share your story with the group.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Well, excellent, and congratulations on the new title change. Did that happen last week?
It did. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been something I've been working towards for a while now. So it was announced last Thursday along with a handful of other updates. We have ELFA has a new chief economist, Tim Mahidi. There are some expanded roles, a lot of exciting things. So, yeah, I'm
Perfect.
happy to step into the new role.
Okay. I'm sure we'll dig into that. I don't want to steal your thunder for later. But
Yeah.
before you join the ELFA, do you mind just kind of introducing your career?
Yeah, of course. Well, I think it's funny. Not a lot of people know this probably, yet at ELFA, but I am born and raised DC. I was born at a hospital that no longer exists on Ellen 20th Street, Northwest, Washington, DC. Grew up in the DC area. My dad worked for a nonprofit. He was CEO of the nonprofit and served on a couple different boards in DC. And so I kind of grew up in it, which is a little unique. DC kind of is I would say, hub for uh, right, all outsiders coming in, trying to influence it. And I'm, what they would call a unicorn, having grown up there and kind of remained there, made a career there. But yeah, prior to ELFA, I started out on Capitol Hill right out of college. Actually, I should even backtrack before that. I had two internships. I went to University of Alabama. I was going to be a photojournalist. That was my intention when I selected my major, and somehow kept getting drawn back into the DC bubble. The idea of like, ooh, maybe I'll go to law school. Maybe political science is a worthy degree. I had my first internship in 2005 for Senator George Allen from Virginia. And then I applied, at the time it was Senator Mark Warner and Senator John Warner and Senator George Allen. The
Okay.
next year, I applied to work for Senator Mark Warner, and then ended up getting an internship with Senator Richard Burr from North Carolina. Then right before I graduated college, I took an internship with Merrill Lynch. I decided not to go abroad and do the uh, fun experience, you know, that I think a lot of collegiate students should take if they have the opportunity and do an abroad program. But I wanted to make money and took an internship with Merrill Lynch in '08, 2 weeks after Bear Stearns went under.
Oh, great
So
timing.
yeah, it was like a crash course on financial services policy, you know, and kind of managing chaos. So yeah, it was definitely, it probably is the roots for how I ended up at ELFA.
Uh, Were you second
But
guessing your career choice at that point, or was it kind of excite you because it was all this stuff just going on?
yeah, honestly, no second guessing. I loved the whole experience. It was so unique. At the time, John Thane, who had been at Goldman Sachs, came over and took over as CEO of Merrill Lynch. And Steve Barry, he was running their government affairs shop. It was kind of like an all hands on deck, completely new advocacy team. And I was just kind of excited to be part of it. And it was interesting, right? Especially because right towards the end of my internship was Lehman Brothers, everyone throwing the papers out the windows. I went in and I remember talking with my supervisor at the time, and they're like, well, obviously there's been a lot of talks with Bank of America. We'll see what happens. And um, I unfortunately wasn't hired on full time.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah.
But it, I think it created this great foundation for, even though, right, troublesome time in the marketplace, just for the, right, bringing capital to Main Street. That was really Merrill Lynch's whole messaging thing, Wall Street meets Main Street, and kind of falling in love with that story. And so from there, I went back to the Hill, went and worked for Congressman from Texas, Judge Ted Poe. It was a great experience. I was with him for close to 6 years, and then I ended up working for the credit union industry for close to a decade. So, although, right, a little different than banking, right, consumer lending,
Sure.
mortgages, once again, kind of tied to that story of being able to provide capital and helping people meet the American dream. So, yeah.
Perfect. The unicorn comment. It's living in Arizona when you find someone who's actually from here. You're just like, oh, no, you're not.
It is funny. I actually, I mean, this. My husband spends a good amount of time out there, but I don't think I've actually met anyone who was born and raised and grew up in Arizona.
When you do, you're just like, oh, so this was all just farmland. They're like, yes, until all of you came here and ruined it. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Maybe they
yeah,
live outside of the Phoenix area. I would have to travel a little bit further.
moved out here in 2010. So I missed the East Coast, but I seem to get back there for an occasional snowstorm or just some terrible weather event that keeps.
Yeah, I will say, given the past, what was it, like 2.5, 3 months, I'm a little envious of your situation. You're not missing much with all the winter storms over here on the East Coast.
Well, maybe things will calm down a little bit. And next spring, you can work remote.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe, yeah, we've got a lot going on. So,
Yeah, yeah. All right. So grew up in DC, we're on the Hill or next to that for pretty much almost, well, I'm just trying to think, 16, 17 years.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
joined the ELFA last year.
Uh,
Or was it the year
July
before?
2024, I'm coming up on 2 years.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I should have done better homework there, so I apologize.
No, it's fine.
Well, I've seen you at two annuals, not three. Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
But what I guess what attracted you to join the Equipment Leasing and Finance Association?
So, it kind of brings me back to my original comment I shared. So, my mentor at Merrill Lynch, Lon Goldstein, he is now a partner at Fed Hall Advisors,
Okay.
and he has the pleasure of representing SF Network. So at the time, I had been with the credit union industry for a good while. There used to be two trade associations that represented credit unions. Um, One kind of the larger, more well-known one that is affiliated with all the different state leagues. And then I worked at the more mid-sized boutique trade association that
Okay.
essentially focused on just federal issues, didn't have really a state government affairs position. So um, we had just gone through a large merger. I had been made it through the transition. But I'm sure, like anybody else in the industry, right? You go through these mergers or acquisitions, and um, even if you make it across, it's kind of like, you know, and I think merger is always so funny because really, at the end of the day, it's a huge transition. The culture from either organization is going to change. And so it was one of those, all right, looking around the room. Um, a lot of the org chart had changed, the approach to advocacy had changed, and it was just clear that, needed to look at what next steps were going to be. And I had set up a ton of meetings in DC, which was funny. I had a handful of coffees and interviews all set up, and my old mentor connected me with ELFA, and I think I had one call the next week. I had two interviews, and it was done. So it was um, kind of a seamless transition from the credit union industry, from America's credit unions to ELFA. But it's been fantastic.
What was the name of the big credit union association?
So there was CUNA,
CUNA.
yeah,
Oh, I
Credit
was gonna say
Union
CUSA.
National
Thought it was
Association.
CUSA.
And I was formerly employed with NAFQ, which was the National Association of Federally Insured Credit Unions. It's a mouthful. Yeah, I gotta love the acronyms in DC. But then, yeah, the merger happened. It was America's Credit Unions when I left.
Yeah.
And it's great. I have a lot of former colleagues that are still there, and it's a wonderful place. But I've really I've loved coming on at ELFA. It's right, it's a smaller trade association, but it's growing, and yeah, I feel like it's feels a little bit almost like the sky's the limit, you know,
Oh,
with where we
oh,
could go.
yeah. So I'm sorry. I know I sent over some questions. I'm going to bounce all around just to kind
Yeah,
of keep the conversation fluid, if you don't mind. So you
of
joined in
course.
July. You had a ramp up period of 2 months to get ready for annual, basically. Was
Yes.
that your first ever conference?
Yeah, it was. And it's funny too, because I think that's where you and I met for the first time. We had the
Yeah.
golf tournament, and so it was like, all right, Allie, you're gonna run the lease pack fundraiser at the golf tournament. I also did a panel at the time on the last Basel III proposal. Um, so I hadn't attended any ELFA events. It was a presidential election year. And yeah, it was my first encounter with any of our members. So it was kind of like, all right, like fight or flight.
And the speaker that you had was a little, testy, I would think. It was Peter Zion, I think, was the speaker.
Yes,
So
yes, that's
that
right.
that one too. So he just kind of added some fuel to that.
We had, I think, Amy Walters too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, it was, yeah, and that was, I mean, it was just such an interesting time coming on at ELFA because, right, Joe Biden drops out of the race, Kamala Harris jumps in. It was so funny too because as you're getting to know members, right, I think of my job is one of those cool, unique things, right? It's a job that's protected under the First Amendment of the Constitution, your right to petition the
sure.
government. And so I take it really seriously that I get to represent industry. And um, so having those like initial meetings with members,
Well,
they're
especially because you're at that booth, and who knows if you're getting the golfers like first hole, or maybe they might be a few drinks in it towards the end, and you're just like, oh, okay.
yeah, the comments vary 100. Yeah. Yeah, and I think at that point there had been maybe two assassination attempts on Trump too. I mean there was a lot of interesting dialogue. But yeah, that was in Austin. No, was it? Yeah, Austin, Texas. Austin,
Yeah,
Texas.
yeah,
And
Austin, awesome. Yeah,
no, it was I I thoroughly enjoyed it. Minus it was, I think, October and we were all dying from the heat.
Texas, like,
Yeah.
yeah, Arizona, who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows what this weather will do? Other than in Cleveland, it will be cold. We can just agree on that, right?
We can agree on that.
Excellent. So you joined on the legislative side, representing that for the ELFA.
Yeah.
And is that still just the main role that you're in today, Allie?
No, so I came on as the director of federal government affairs.
Mhm.
And when I initially came on, right, there was no SVP, there was just the VP. And so I was really kind of monitoring and tracking legislation, assisting with policy, running the political and grassroots efforts. But that shifted pretty quickly. At the time, Andy was promoted to SVP, and so it was kind of, all right, you know, let's kind of, here are the goals. Lee laid out some goals and where I could kind of take
That's right, because
things.
you arrived at a similar time frame as her, right? Were you guys like,
She was about 7 months, six, no, 7 months ahead of me. Seven or
was
eight,
she? Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, she clearly had a vision for what we could be doing with our advocacy efforts. And so really wanted me to lean into that. You know, I was doing a lot of, and I still do a lot of the compliance, like the lobbying disclosures, the FEC reports, all the fun stuff,
I
right?
was gonna say all the stuff that, yeah, I'm sorry. But
Yeah, but
I love your enthusiasm about it though. It's great because you're truly
yeah,
passionate about it. I'm kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, great.
yeah. Well, gotta stay excited to get through it, right?
It's
But
important though. It is important.
it is
It's
important, yes. And I am treasurer of the pack too. So, whether the lobbying disclosure stuff obviously important too, but yes, at the end of the day, I don't really look good in orange, so I got to make sure that paperwork is done right and turned in, and but beyond that, I think, right, kind of in this new role, it's really the VP position, kind of, in 2026 moving forward. I think the lens is elevating our advocacy, making it more streamlined, creating kind of a more thoughtful vision for that common bond between all the various sectors we represent, and then
sure.
kind of honing in on the messaging. So whether that's direct letters to the Hill or to regulators, or if it's, like working with coalition partners, working with other trade associations that might, there might be added weight to the messaging, right? And
Sure.
how we kind of tackle and approach our policy strategy. I think that's really where we want to take not just the position, but really actually the overall public policy division, just more thoughtful and, you know, with kind of less constant focus, right? The bread and butter of the job is playing defense, but creating more of an offense opportunity for our industry.
Absolutely, and especially if there are other industries that we can piggyback off of, just strengthen numbers.
Strength in numbers, 100%. I am a big believer in that. And, we recently just did a letter with the US Chamber of Commerce, and uh, it's funny, right? I think some lobbyists at various trade associations, and I can't fault them for it. There's this territorial nature of sorts, right? They want to be able to show their membership that they did something, and that, kind of almost claiming like I did it. And I, I'm a big believer in, like, you know, if we all win, like our industry wins, right? So like if the chamber is going to take credit, which, it was everybody took credit, but right, like, um, then we all win, right? It's to your point. There's strength in numbers, and at the end of the day, I think ELFA, it's not a source of pride. It's we want to make sure that our membership, I guess pride in ourselves versus our membership having pride
Right. Are we
in what we're
executing
doing.
for our members? Yes,
Exactly.
no. Like you can spin it anyway, right? It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so I guess speaking of policy, um,
Yeah.
what's going on there? I mean, I think I've done capital connections for 7 years now, and it's like I think we finally got a win. Then I hear we don't necessarily. I'm like, oh, like, what's is are we still talking 1071 in 2 months, or is that thing?
So, well, and it's interesting you say that. We're expecting a final rule from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Bureau, um, mid-month. So we're what, a few days from what's considered mid-month. So any day now.
What is DC? What is DC mid month? Like the 23rd, 24th,
Yeah, right. A
whatever it
little bit
needs to be,
delayed.
whatever it needs to be.
Dragging their feet. Yeah, punt to the next month. No, it's you know, we're expecting this final rule. I I'm hopeful. But obviously, um, people have been pretty close lips about it, which I think uh that's to be expected. We submitted comment, like I mentioned, we partnered with the chamber and a handful of other trade associations to submit comment on the rule as well. Um, I feel really good about all the effort we put in to try and improve upon their proposed rule. We'll see where we land. But to your point, I don't know if we'll be talking about it. I'm sure we'll touch on it at Capital Connections, but not like we have probably in years past, unless it really comes out unfavorable, which there were already improvements to the proposed rule. So, I don't see if there are going to be changes. I think they're going to be very technical, and that in what we provided were very technical suggestions. Um, but that's the thing with these rules. I think this, ECOA Section 1071, similar to HMDA, a new administration is going to come in, perhaps, right? And they might fully fund the CFPB, and they might have a different vision for what this rule should really look like. And so I think it'll be a continuous thing that we're going to be talking about in the industry for years to come. I just don't know at this point, come May 18th and 19th, how in the weeds we're going to be. But the nice thing for us is, kind of as I was talking about earlier, this new vision for what we want our public policy department to be kind of leaning into is um, for federal government affairs, we've created these three pillars of our advocacy, trying to just really hone in on that lens that I was talking about, right? That thread that brings us all together.
Mhm.
And so far we've I'll share them with you, a little sneak peek, but the first pillar is really going to be focused on all tax policy, right? So advancing stable, predictable, pro-growth tax policy. You know, under that, I think it'll create this opportunity for various guidance as a result of the One Big Beautiful Bill. So whether it's the fiat guidance that we're currently seeking clarity on, or base erosion or FET tax, I think having these pillars is going to be helpful. The second pillar is expanding access to capital and creating regulatory relief. So issues like, the Section 1071 rule or the new Basel III reproposal, those things will fall underneath that. I know the Basel III reproposal is coming out any day now, so we'll definitely be weighing in on that rule from the Federal Reserve, OCC, and FDIC. So I'm sure we'll be touching on it when we go to the Hill as well. And then, of course, I think, right, you know, utilizing emerging technologies, any kind of policy that falls into that camp will also go underneath that pillar. And then the third pillar is strengthening America's manufacturing economy. So this, it could be right to repair provisions, protecting the residual value of the asset. It could be, the Supreme Court's IEPA ruling, and tariff refunds, guidance from customs. So those are kind of our, like I said, tax, access to capital, and healthy manufacturing economy, are three pillars.
Nice. I like that. And can we
Yeah.
can we figure out a way to rebrand N71 to something else if there's a final ruling? Can we just say, okay, it's been almost 2 decades. Please make up a new thing for it.
Yeah, I'll throw it out there. See if the Bureau wants to throw around some new ideas.
Just
No, I feel like, right, it's one of those things. Since I've started at ELFA, like, oh, we're still talking about, and it's crazy how much has happened since I've come on at ELFA, right? We had the judicial stays. There was multiple bills introduced last year. Congressman Roger Williams and then Senator Kennedy had their repeal Section 1071 bill, and then Senator Katie Britt had a great bill that she put together, and I know her staff worked pretty closely on the new proposed rule. So, but it's wild. And to your point, right? We've been in this stay, so it feels like it's almost feels like we
it's been
almost didn't have to deal
just
with
been
it.
multiple administrations since this thing went through.
Yeah.
Full left Congress, full right Congress. No one's doing anything. Put it to bed. Go away.
Yeah, right. But yeah, one of these days.
Yeah.
Soon, probably in 4 days.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Give me a call. Let me know. Let me know how that
I'll let
goes.
you know. Yeah.
All right. So we're can't believe we're almost 3 full months through this year already.
Yeah.
So from an ELFA perspective in 2026, how are things looking? What new things do you guys have going on? How are membership numbers, Allie?
Yeah.
Overall membership sentiment.
No, things are good. Right. I mentioned obviously there's this vision. Lee, you know, I will say when I came to ELFA, part of the attraction when I was going through the interview process was the fact that Lee was new and she had this big vision for the trade association and where she wanted to take it. And it's funny because, right, I had mentioned I came from a smaller, more boutique, I guess medium-sized boutique trade association, and kind of got to see that experience of what happens when you're not kind of thinking about, okay, where is this growth going? And what's the vision? What's the mission? Lee has that. And so I think membership's seen it at our events. There's been a really thoughtful, elevated approach to how we want to engage our members, making sure the speaker lineup, is worthy, that the material, the look and feel, I mean, everything down to the look and feel, which it's I'm impressed working at the organization, just seeing what my colleagues have put together and kind of stepping up to the plate. Obviously there's been some changes with staff, a lot of newbies like myself, but we have a lot of veterans too, that have been instrumental in kind of making sure that there's an integrated approach, right? That we're not losing sight with where we want to go. That was wonderful previously. And so, um, yeah, I think right innovations coming up this week,
Well,
later
yeah,
this week.
I was gonna say it just concluded when this was live.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes, that by the time this is up, it will be over. Um,
Yeah.
and
I think the
but
funding
then
conference. What does the funding conference have? Like 800 people so far signed up for it. It was a rather impressive list when I was looking at it
yeah.
like last week.
Yeah, and we've had these investor meetings, which have been really fantastic. Even Capital Connections is looking different this year. We took what was best practices and what was Capital Connections. We're in the process of integrating the two. So the name this year is Capital Connections and Best Practices Roundtable, but the idea is more of a policy summit,
Okay.
policy in, policy out. And so the first day, right, best practices, traditionally, right, always had a lunch with a speaker, usually an economist,
Yeah.
and then had the sector business council sector breakout panels. We're still holding true to that kind of format, but the idea is to kind of marry the two because they're going to be now ever connected. And so, really thinking about it in the sense of, and I'm a big believer everything's policy, right? It's just the lens of which you look out of. Um, so, um, the first day, that lunch, we're having our chief economist sit down with the editor-in-chief of National Journal, Jeff DeFore. So Tim Mahady and Jeff DeFore are going to talk about basically where the economy is and the impact on midterm elections and kind of
Mm.
what what this all means for industry moving forward. We'll go to our breakout panels and then write even the themes of the breakout panels. And it was funny because when we first started talking about the idea and how we wanted to marry them, it was like, well, what if, like, I forgot the example. It was like, what if our sector, right, BCSC, our business council, wants to really focus on AI? I was like, great. We can do that. AI has a policy lens. Like there have been bills popping up in Colorado and California. And so, right, we can talk about it from, utilizing it in your operations to credit and risk, but then what to anticipate from a governance standpoint. And so, um, I was like, it kind of, we'll get the panel lineup and we're still working on that, but making sure that we have a panelist that kind of can provide that policy lens throughout, making it seamless. So that way, when we go up to the Hill, we talk about those three pillars, in which it'll capture those like kind of more niche specific issues. We
Well,
can then really vocalize and share that story, right? Like because we all had that dialogue and discussion the day prior with each other. And so I think it also really will be helpful too moving forward of having this intention throughout the year. Like I said, we have these investor meetings. There's a lot going on in private capital. So um, it'll be interesting to see as the year continues, especially as we get to annual in California this year.
so
Kind of
so
the
is
lead
Capital Connections now 2 full days, or is it?
2 full days. Yeah.
And what if you're not on one of those committees?
You can
Like,
attend. It's not meant to be exclusive. It's meant to be
okay,
right. Let's say you want to go to the service provider, you're a service provider. Like you're
yeah,
more than welcome to go to their panels. It's a 2 day
okay.
conference. And so I think, next year we're still working on the naming of it, but
Huh.
I'm leaning towards something involving policy summit to make sure that, right, like um, the idea of this policy in having these thoughtful conversations of where we are in the industry, right? And then um, sharing that messaging. I think
Well, I
that's
mean,
where
like
there's a huge
lobbying for the last 6, 7 years, it's all about stories, right? And if you have a
Yeah.
panel and you can relate to different stories, that's all it is, just storytelling. And you'll tell you that you've been doing it a lot longer than I
Yeah.
have. And that's just what they
Yeah.
relate to, right? And that's what they connect with. It's not just like, here's our brochure, look at the numbers. It's
Yeah.
like, just make
Well,
it relatable.
and having worked for, on the Hill, right? It's funny being on the receiving end when people come in and they just are like, "Oh, we'd like for you to support XYZ bill." Why?
Yeah,
And
yeah, me too.
it is so interesting because, and this is what I do love about our industry. And I try to adhere to it myself, right? Staying away from some of the DC dialogue of, like, using the acronyms. Like, you're going to come in, like, talk about the unique problem in the most simplest of terms, explain the impact to the for the business, for the industry, for the district, right? The economy, like the role it plays in their world, just connect the dots. And so I think, you know, as we as a trade association really hone in on that, I think it's just it'll bleed into everything else and where we're going.
Cool. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So is that registration already been opened up, or I guess is that still going to be free to the membership, or are you guys changing that?
So best practices was always a always had a fee
Okay,
associated
okay,
with it.
okay,
The fee for what was best practices is the now fee for the 2-day event.
okay.
So most people, if they attended last year, because last year was the first time that best practices and capital connections
There you
got
go.
married. Um, uh, most people that were attending attended both. So
Got it.
they're not going to see really the difference there, right, in the
Uh,
fee for attendance. Um, Open registration is on the 24th. We're very excited. As I mentioned, I'm kind of finalizing some of those panels. I think right now we're doing for our captive and vendor, we've got um, we've got two panelists secured for tariffs, the Supreme Court ruling on IEPA and what the refund process should look like. The second panel is going to be right to repair. And so we'll actually, I'm sure members will love this. We just confirmed that Matt Hart from CNH will be on that panel. So, right, like I said, you can put a policy lens on anything.
sure, sure. All right. Well, that sounds very exciting. I'll have to make sure I put a little tickler in my calendar to register for that, because I know that one registration fills up pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, it is it's a capped event and usually sells out pretty fast. But it's funny actually. I'm actually thinking back to the original question because I really went into the events. But I will say too, there's been a lot of exciting stuff just of the um, kind of restructuring of our org, right? Research with the announcement of our new chief economist, Tim Mahidi. Research, I think, is going to kind of um, rise, which it was already, I mean, I was already super grateful coming into a policy role, knowing that we had that as a resource, the studies, the Horizon report. And I'm just excited to see what Tim's going to bring to the table. I know he's speaking at a lot of events coming up.
Sure.
But then with the merger with CLFP or partnership with CLFP, um, having Reed on board is really exciting. Now there's a certification element to the trade association, which I think really distinguishes us and sets us apart. So um, yeah, there's an energy. It feels good. So a lot for people to be excited about.
Sure. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And I guess my last question I have for you is, I ask everyone on the program, I'm not going to let you get away without answering. Sorry.
Oh
I asked
goodness.
everyone a little fun fact about themselves. So outside of I mean, do you go take photos of different things and submit them to papers still as like a passion, or
No,
do you,
no.
what do you do outside of work? Um,
Well, dang, I was gonna say fun fact. So outside of work hobbies, I love to read. Love, love, love to read. I think I read um a
any
little over
genres?
50, all fiction,
Uh,
all types of fiction. But yeah, I just finished a dystopian novel. But last year I read a little over 50 books. But I was gonna say fun fact, which actually probably bleeds into like a hobby.
I was gonna say your kids let you read. How do you do
Well,
that?
I have a baby who doesn't sleep, so I read a lot when she's not sleeping.
Fair,
Um, yeah, yeah. I something's got to keep me awake at 3 a.m. So,
fair, fair. Uh,
yeah, she's got her fourth tooth just came in. Yeah, and the my almost 5-year-old is an early bird. So yeah, my kids don't. I don't get a ton of time, but
well, considering it's 4:30 in the afternoon right now, and you still have a nice smile on your face, I think you're doing pretty well for getting
dinner.
3 hours or 4 hours of sleep, because I think you're soloing it. So good for you.
Yes, yes. Caffeine, right? Coffee and Diet Coke can get me through anything.
All right, sorry
Um,
for keep interrupting your fun fact. Sorry.
no, but I was gonna say, not many people know this, that have met me since graduating high school, but I played in Alexandria City's all city orchestra for 3 years.
Oh,
First violin, second chair, but hobby, I love classical music. So, and the nice thing is my family, we live right outside of Cleveland, and Cleveland has one of the best like arts, music, right? Theater. We have a theater district. Um, but it's fantastic because the Cleveland Orchestra, I think, is the seventh best in the world, and I
oh, wow.
just can pop over and see them anytime, which is very
Because they get to
convenient.
practice ten months out of the year because there's no sunlight, right? I'm sorry.
True, it's true.
All right.
Yeah, you got to do
I haven't
something
heard
to.
Jeff Elliott brag about that yet, so at least I learned something new about Cleveland.
That's hilarious. Well, he should. I mean, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm surprised.
That's more his speed
Yeah.
for us. Everyone knows Jeff. Classical, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe he's not bragging about the orchestra's weekly performance at Blossom. He should be, but I'll bring it
You,
up next time I see him.
and you said you played the violin.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. I don't prep I don't have a lot of time for hobbies. Reading's kind of it. I do love to run.
Uh,
But yeah, I that's kind of fallen to the wayside too since having kids. But
5 year
yeah.
old, less than 1 year old, Cleveland,
Yeah.
not gonna
And
happen.
the
So,
CFPB has been keeping me busy. So, between work and the books and the babies,
yeah, 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 yeah.
time has been limited. But yeah, no. Yeah, and occasionally I do love to cook. But these days it's a lot of chicken fingers, things that 5-year-olds will
Hot
enjoy.
dog and mac and cheese, rock and roll, just go.
Yeah, exactly. Uncrustables.
Those are dangerous though.
So good. So good.
Jeremy's like,
Yeah.
can we get them? And I'm like, sure. And he's like, where'd they all go? I'm like, "Hmm, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh
I
wait,
don't
wait, I do
know.
know. I do know. I do know.
That's
Well,
too
Allie, it
funny.
was great to have you on the program. Glad to have you as a part of the ELFA. Congratulations on your success so far. You know, hopefully we hear some good news over the next couple days so we can maybe put something to bed. That'd be amazing.
I know, right? I'm like, fingers crossed.
My toes are
Otherwise, we'll
crossed,
have a
but no
lot
big
to
deal.
say.
Well, I really appreciate your time. Thanks again, and look forward to seeing you at an upcoming conference.
Yes, same. You too.
All right, thank you.
Bye.